Hey everyone. I wanted to go ahead and make this video. This is going to be kind of short and to the point as much as I can be. There's not going to be an intro on this video. I might put an outro just because it makes it a little easier for closing up the video. I've been posting a little bit on Twitter and Facebook that, especially Facebook, that I've been having some health issues recently. And content has really slacked because of it. And I want to give you guys an update, but I also want to be completely transparent. I don't have a lot to update you guys on. I don't have all the information yet. So for the update, I do have to take you back a little bit, and I'm going to try and make a long story short, and also give you a lot of information in a short period of time. Let me preface this by saying I don't like going to the doctor. I have not seen the doctor as much as I probably should. That's probably part of the reason I'm in this mess, is because I have avoided going to the doctor as many times as I should. And I've taken many of the health issues. The health issue I'm talking about today, I've basically taken in stride since the beginning and basically been like, I can deal with it. No big deal. And taken secondary routes to just try and deal with. So until now where I can't. So here we go. Let's just talk about it. So the health issue I keep referring to started when I was 14 years old. Around 14 years old, I would get these random migraines. And these migraines were not just typical migraines. On top of them being bilateral migraines, which is already kind of rare-ish. Most people get migraines over like one eye or the other eye, or in one temple or the other temple. I got them on both sides, and it wasn't centralized to one area. It would be like my whole head, or it would be like both eyes or both temples or the back of my head or something each time, if not just the whole head hurting. And worse than that, though, there was a really strange factor that came with them, and it was I would pass out at the beginning. This was something that obviously was extremely scary from the very beginning, and so we did seek medical attention about it from the very beginning. I went to my pediatrician, but I'm going to put it very shortly, and I don't want to say too much in case I highly doubt that pediatrician would somehow see this and say this was slander or something, but there was not a lot done, and I feel like it was handled very, very poorly. But I was put on a medication that was like a temporary medication, basically just to treat pain. And it worked for the time being, but what we thought was just some kind of temporary issue and got no scans for, did nothing for, ended up being a problem that I've dealt with for the next like almost 13 years. So what we've learned in that time is they come back in what we refer to as clusters. So over the last like 13 years, I've gotten, I don't know, I'd say like 5 or 6 clusters of them. So what I mean by cluster is like I can go 2-3 years without ever getting one, but then when I get one, it's usually followed by a series of maybe a couple months of them. And it might be like 5 to 10 a month or something like that. And they are terrible, but generally I could still work and everything during them. Some of the clusters were not that bad at all. The worst one previously was when I was 21 years old. We had just had Matthew. I was working a job that I hated. I was so beyond stressed out. And I think honestly, if I'm being honest, I think stress is a big part of this issue. Um, anyways, I'm not gonna go speculating on all that yet. I know absolutely nothing yet. But anyways, it got really, really bad. I was having migraines constantly. It was like almost every day. Like that's an exaggeration, but not by much. It was like almost every day for a couple months I was having a migraine. Um and so let me walk you through real quick what I mean by these migraines. So this is probably an important part I should have started with. So what happens though is these are not normal migraines. So I started describing this and then I kind of trailed off. I apologize. So what happens is I get this kind of like foggy feeling beforehand. Um, the best way to describe it is kind of like imagine like you're driving on a dark road and there's just a really bad fog. It's like that. Like there's just a lot of confusion and like I just feel like I kind of go on autopilot. I really don't have much control. So anyways, there's kind of that feeling comes on, just a haziness, and I feel like I can't concentrate, can't function right. And then and then sorry, trying to think. I want to make sure I get all of the information for you guys. I'm this is like the second or third time I've made this video, so I want to make sure like I hit everything. So all right, so yeah, like the haziness comes on, and then sometimes right before it starts, the colors, it's like colors will get brighter to me. It's hard to describe, but it's like my vision gets more sensitive. So then from there though, what ends up happening is like I just fall over and I pass out. And I wake up and I remember bits and parts about beforehand. Sometimes it's a little more hazy, sometimes I remember pretty well. And then I'll be in intense migraine pain, like intense, and it is horrible, horrible. Super bad light sensitivity. I've heard many people say that they have horrible sound sensitivity. Not that bad for me. Not bad at all. I could honestly be in a stadium of cheering people, as you saw in the last video, and it doesn't really bother me. It's more of the lights. So anyways, so that's generally how they kind of went at that time. The problem is, though, they've not stayed like that. So anyways, at 21 years old, I started having a really, really bad cluster of them, and I sought medical attention again. And when I did, I was told that it was mainly a stress-related issue. I was put on actually, I don't know if I was even put on a medication. I know I was referred to a chiropractor of all things, and kind of told like I can go a holistic route, and because it was believed it was all stress. So we did that, and I also took a medication that was like after the migraine started. So anyway, so I did that, and for a long time they went away. Then around the time of Andrew being in the hospital last year, I started having them shortly after that. Now that cluster was not bad at all. It was only a couple. Didn't really impact that much. Nothing too bad. And no new symptoms with it. Now, this cluster started about 4 or 5 months ago. And it has been the worst of my life. I have been really badly impacted by this one. So let me tell you a little bit about this one. So this one is kind of typical in the beginning. It started typical. The normal passing out, the normal migraines, and all that stuff. But it changed pretty quickly on. The first thing I noticed that was different was I started getting this weird tingling, kind of like when your arms go to sleep or your legs go to sleep, like after you lay on them wrong or whatever, and you're like sleeping or taking a nap or whatever, and you lay on them and they start to fall asleep. You get that pins and needles feeling. I would get that after passing out, and it would be like they feel hard to move and they feel like tense and they feel like they're like drawing, like constricting. And I felt like, I don't know, I felt like I was still in control of them, but it felt like wonky to move. It's hard to describe, but it felt like controlling my body felt weird. It felt wrong. Like it felt like it was hard to do. Um and so that was the first thing that kind of felt wrong. And that's when I started kind of like, okay, something's going on here. We might want to start going to see the doctor. So I started setting up doctor's appointments because I already started having the migraines before this. And then all of a sudden started getting this. And I was like, okay, that's not normal. We need to start something. Then the second thing was I started having them where I would be on the ground right after falling or whatever, passing out. And I would be laying there, and not only would I have this feeling, but I would start like chilling, like my body would feel cold and I would start shaking. Now, this is not like seizure shaking. I'll get into that in a minute, but it's like just like extremely cold. Like I get extremely cold, like shivering. That was what was going on at this time. And so this happened multiple times where I would have all of those symptoms. Now, those were brand new to me. I had never had that. Now, all of that was new and it was scary. And it seemed weird. So finally, we get into the doctor. Now, this is where things really ramp up and they get ramped up really quickly. So it was last Thursday, or not last Thursday, but the Thursday before, that I went to my normal primary care doctor. And when I went to my primary care, she saw me and we talked about all my medical history. We talked about everything, which my medical history is not extensive outside of this issue. No previous real issues, nothing crazy, nothing to talk about. I don't have any diseases, nothing like that. So there was not a lot to talk about except this issue. And so she was trying to understand like everything. So when we got onto it, one thing that she constantly kept coming back to was the fact that I would go kind of plain faced before everything. And she was saying these sound like absent seizures. And she said, I think you're having some sort of seizures and then you're having some kind of migraine after because of the seizure. So she ordered an MRI for the next day. So then I went and got the MRI. And I never had an MRI before, never had any kind of imaging, didn't know what to expect. It was definitely an interesting experience. And the MRI results were posted in MyChart. If you're familiar with MyChart, it's like an application you can go into and get your results and like see appointments and all that stuff. But nobody ever explained anything to me. Yay! Nothing. Like nobody ever called me, nothing. And but in all fairness, it was on a Friday. It was late in the day, and then went to the weekend, so nobody's gonna call you on the weekend from a doctor's office, just whatever. Monday, I called my doctor's office and I was like, hey, I was wondering if doctor got to review this. And they said, no, not yet, so we'll get her to call you when possible. Well, never got the call, because apparently didn't get to review it. And the neurologist, that did the review updated in there, but didn't really say anything. Didn't like put it in layman's terms. So it was still like in doctor speak, and I'm kind of a moron, so I'm sitting there like, all right. I'm Googling this stuff and I'm like, okay, either I have brain cancer or I have a normal headache. I have no idea what to expect. Like, I don't know what this means for me. So, finally I wait till the next day and Tuesday. And I'm like, okay, I call again. And they're like, okay, before the end of the day, she will definitely call you. Well, Tuesday, something crazy happened. So I was in work. I work at a nursing home, and I work with a lot of amazing people, a lot of nurses and everything. And luckily, one of the nurses, I won't say names for legal reasons and everything. One of the nurses I work with worked at Children's, and she worked in the neurology section. And I had a episode go on where I was standing in a room with one of my coworkers, and I remember feeling the foggy feeling beforehand, but I felt like I couldn't tell anybody. I felt like my body was just on autopilot, and I was standing up at like the we have like these carts that we take supplies on and everything. I was standing there at one of the carts, and she asked me a question. And I remember thinking, like, John, what did she just say? And like feeling like I was trying to unscramble the question, and then everything just went blank. And I remember small flashes of like memories from there. I remember being on my back in the activity office where we were. And I remember this certain nurse being over me at one point, telling me to breathe. And I remember, like I remember feeling like I couldn't breathe. And I knew like I was spasming, like I knew like I was shaking really bad. And I remember they were talking to me, and I guess I was answering, but like once again, it was like autopilot. I don't really remember anything for real. Like I don't remember a lot of it. And eventually what ended up happening was, when I remember fully from, is they had called 911 and there was a stretcher arriving, and I remember them getting me up to get on the stretcher. And from the stretcher arriving, I remember every detail. I remember that I started regaining feeling in my legs about the time they were putting me on the stretcher. I had no feeling in my arms at all. And in fact, my hands were stuck in this weird positioning. I'm holding the phone with my other hand, but they were stuck in this weird like claw positioning. And I was trying to like move them, and it just felt like they weren't moving the way that I was trying to move them. I'm sorry, I'm not editing this, so if I cough or anything, I apologize. Anyways, they rushed me to a nearby hospital, and when I was in the ambulance, they were asking me a lot of questions, and apparently they had been asking me questions before, and I was answering. So once again, I think part of this is like, I don't know if adrenaline took over, or I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to explain a lot of it, but I was able to answer questions, and apparently my answers were appropriate. They were short but appropriate. So I don't know. Maybe part of it I just don't remember that well. Maybe it's all just fuzzy. But I remember very clearly after being on the stretcher. When they got me to the ambulance, I remember regaining feeling in my legs, like getting on the stretcher, getting in the ambulance. But it wasn't until being at the hospital and being there for almost 45 minutes to an hour that I remember regaining feeling in my hands. And they didn't do a whole lot for me there. What they did do was blood work, which all came back good. There were no problems there. They took my blood pressure and everything. My blood pressure was pretty high. It was really high for me. My blood pressure usually runs high, but this was like high. But anyways, so after a little while, they didn't do any more scans or anything, but they said they were able to access the MRI that I had done the previous Friday. And they sent it over to the neurologist they had in-house at the hospital, and they got an immediate response back. And the literal quote that this doctor or nurse or whoever it was at the hospital came to me and said as they were discharging me was, and I quote, "The neurologist said you have abnormalities shown on your MRI that are identical to epilepsy. And so they put me on a medication, and I'm taking that now for epilepsy. But I don't know. I still don't know. Like, we started at migraines. I have a seizure, and now they're like, "Oh, you have epilepsy." And I'm like, "What? I've never had a seizure before. Or if I have, I've only had like the absent ones. I've never had the like thrashing or whatever until this." Because yes, sure enough, the part that I didn't tell is what everybody else told me after. Sure enough, like my coworkers and everything, when I came back, told me that I was on the ground and I was literally like, as you would normally see with seizures, I was clenching up and like tightening and lifting and like staring at one point and everything. Atypical seizure in that way. And you know, I have no idea. So, anyways, I'm getting kind of worked up about this because I don't have any answers for real. So, anyways, since then, what has happened is I followed up with my doctor just over a phone call. And she was like, "Okay, so we're going to have to follow up on this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you to a neurologist." So today, I had an appointment and I went to a neurologist. And the neurologist, I went over everything with him. And he, first of all, he didn't have access to the actual images of the MRI for whatever reason, but he read the report of the MRI and goes, "I have no idea why they diagnosed you with epilepsy when the MRI report seems to show that the images were poor, as in like they had very bad imagery. Like I moved during the MRI, which I don't think I moved significantly, at least. I don't know. I don't know how still you have to be for an MRI. I've never been in an MRI before except this time, so I don't know. I didn't think I moved significantly. Like I laid pretty still. I don't know. But and then he said, "Well, even if not, like they could have had just messed up images. Like it can get screwed up." So I don't know. So anyways, I have to get another MRI at some point. And all of this. But anyways, he said, like, I don't know why they would diagnose you with it. He said, "I'm not ready to rule out epilepsy, but I'm also not ready to diagnose you officially with it." But he wants me to stay on the medication. But he thinks it's still the migraine issue and all this different stuff. So I'm really, really confused. And right now, I'm just along for the ride, to be honest. I've no idea. Maybe the seizure thing was like a one-off. Maybe I just had one random seizure. Like, I have no idea. I don't know what to think. Right now, I'm not sure. I don't know. Like, I really don't know. So, what I'm really trying to get to here, though, is, I'm going through a lot here. I've been lacking on content lately. I have not updated a lot. I've not posted a lot. And I've been talking a little bit about my health issues, but I don't really have a lot of answers yet. And because of that, I've taken a lot of a backseat on a lot of things. My mental health is not good right now. I'm trying to grow closer to God again, because I feel like during this, and not that I'm questioning at all. I'm not actually. I'm still right where I'm at. It's just like I feel like this is an opportunity to grow closer to him, and I feel like I haven't really grasped onto that opportunity yet. I feel like I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of wasting the opportunity at the moment, so that's something I'm going to try and like really take advantage of. But along with it, like otherwise in my life, I've always driven. Since age 15, I've been able to drive myself around, do whatever I wanted from that perspective and everything. I can't drive anymore. Don't know if I'll ever drive again. I don't know. Um, even if it's not epilepsy, even if it's just the migraines or whatever, the passing out issue might be too much. I might not ever be able to drive again. Um, I'm so overwhelmed with doctor's appointments. Like I said, I don't like going to the doctor at all. And I literally have a list of like 7 doctors to call after doing this. Um, I have an extensive list that I have to call um, to set up appointments, to follow up on appointments, all of that stuff. My work has taken a significant hit. Um, I've not been at work as consistent as normal. Even when I have been, I've not been able to work at normal capacity, I guess you could say. Um, there are some things like, I did transportation for us for a while. Uh, I got taken off that, and some other work duties in general. And I feel like, I wish I could help out more. I feel bad because I'm putting stuff on other people. That wasn't originally their job, it was my job. And now I have to pass it off on them. And it feels just scummy, it doesn't feel good. Um, and then along with it, like, even ministry wise, this has really like impacted my ability to be able to do ministry. Um, I feel I still feel an absolute fire to do everything, but I also feel guilty because I feel like with the frequency of everything, I feel worried that I'm not reliable, and I don't want to set people up for failure by saying like, "Hey, I'll be there to preach," or "Hey, I'm going to do this ministry group," or whatever. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and then not be able to be there. And then, you know, fail them in that way. And then even just in a personal life, like friends and family and everything, Rachel's had so much on her plate. She's had to, be watching over me so much and everything. And it's just a lot. So please, I'm not telling everybody this for pity or sympathy in that way. What I am saying is, number one, if you could have patience for me, um, just from the perspective of content and everything. Like I said, I'm sorry that I haven't updated a lot. It shows in. I'm not one of those that like constantly watches the numbers and everything, but my watch time hours a little while ago were up like crazy. Like a couple months ago, were up. Now they're down the lowest they've been in months, like in a long, long time. Along with the channel views, they're down like crazy. And along with the interaction in general on all platforms is really low right now because I'm just not doing much. And it's because of this. It's because I've been so hyper focused on everything else. I've got a bunch of content planned that I just haven't been able to work on. To give you an example of how this is impacted, though, because some people are probably going to be like, okay, well, there are other people that work normal things. Yeah, they do. But I'm also trying to balance like 100 different things. So, like, for example, last week, last week, when I had to go to the hospital on Tuesday, I missed the rest of the day and everything. And I had missed the day before for a doctor, or for, I forget what actually. Maybe I had one that day. I'm not remembering. Or no, maybe I didn't miss the day before. Anyways, but I missed the Thursday and Friday before. I was already making up hours because I'm trying to save PTO for the baby in December and all this different stuff. And like, so I had to work late every day, and like it's crazy. So it's crazy busy. So anyways, so I'm not saying it out of like pity. I'm not telling you this just so everybody will be like, oh, poor John, let's all subscribe and let's make sure he makes $1 million or anything. No, not that kind of thing. But just in general, I just want to let you know because number one, same as with Andrew. When everything happened with him, I wanted to be honest in struggles and in triumphs. And I believe the Bible calls Christians to be honest when good things are going on and when bad things are going on. But also I want to also kind of keep you guys in the loop and let you know why content has been slow, and just hopefully you guys understand and are able to have some patience with me. And I want to apologize about it. Um, Obviously, it's not something I can really, really control, but I am trying to take back control as much as possible. There are some areas in my life I don't know if I'll be able to take back control. What my work schedule is going to look like for the remainder of all of this issue, I don't know. What whether I'll ever get to drive again, I don't know. But hopefully I can be able to take back over, how able I am for YouTube and ministry in general. So, um, anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and close this video out. Didn't mean for it to even be this long. So, I hope I've pretty much put all the information that I needed to out here. I'm gonna keep you guys as updated as possible about a lot of this. In general, there's nothing like too scary. It's not like, I made a joke earlier about like looking up on Google and everything and seeing about brain cancer. I'm not dying or anything. Let me make that very clear. Um, and I don't think it's anything too serious. I mean, obviously it's serious in the way like I'm passing out. That's not normal. But it's normal. This is really stupid to say and really weird, but it's normal for me. It's just the newer issues, the newer symptoms made me more scared about it. So now I guess I'm just seeking treatment, where before I was like, this is fine, just comfortable in dysfunction. So, yeah, anyways, so I hope that answers everything. If you guys could just pray for me and pray for my family, pray for Rachel. She's been really strong about all of this, and you know, the baby coming and everything. She's definitely got a lot on her plate, and she's still doing an amazing job driving us around, taking care of everything, and even dealing with me. So, anyways. All right. This video's definitely been long enough. I love you guys. I thank you so much for watching. I thank you for your support, and have a good one.